like you. Be strong to hold the powers of the sun. To dream, believe in strength. Now I'm the only one.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Na Diorpop. Sometimes, the most meaningful moments aren't loud. They don't come with grand gestures or dramatic headlines. Sometimes they arrive quietly, wrapped in a single sentence that simply says, "They arrived safely." Today's story begins not on a stage, not under flashing lights, but in the soft in-between moment of arrival. An airport, a few carts, a journey completed, and 7 familiar figures moving forward in their own rhythm. At first glance, it looks ordinary. But if you slow down, if you really pay attention, you'll notice something else beneath the surface. The subtle choices, the silent check-ins, the way some bonds remain steady no matter how the path is arranged. In this video, we're not here to rush. We're here to observe, to feel, and to understand why, even in the smallest details, some connections continue to speak the loudest. So take a breath, settle in, and let's talk about their arrival in Dubai. And the quiet way Jimin and Jungkook continue to find each other every single time. They arrived in Dubai safely. At first glance, it was just a simple update, brief, factual, almost understated. A line that could easily be overlooked if you didn't know how much weight it carried. But for those who had been waiting, watching, worrying, and refreshing timelines across different time zones, those 4 words were enough to ease a collective breath. Safe arrivals always matter. But when it's them, when it's 7 people who have spent years moving together through airports, stages, exhaustion, joy, pressure, and history, it means something deeper. It means continuity. It means reassurance. It means that, once again, they made it through another journey side by side. As the first details began to surface, fans did what they've learned to do over time: observe quietly. No assumptions. No rush to conclusions. Just careful attention to patterns that have repeated themselves for years. From what could be gathered, Jeon was with Jimin in one cart. In another cart were V, J-Hope, RM, and Jungkook. Yoongi, as expected, was in a separate cart, moving calmly, independently, with the familiar air of someone who knows exactly where he needs to be without needing to announce it. Nothing about this arrangement felt strange. If anything, it felt reassuringly normal. Jeon with Jimin made sense immediately. Jeon has always been a steady presence, especially during transitions, arrivals, departures, moments where the pace slows down just enough for fatigue to settle in. Jimin, sitting beside him, looked composed, peaceful even. His shoulders weren't tense. His expression wasn't guarded. There was a softness there, the kind that appears only when he's comfortable enough to let it show. Jeon leaned slightly toward him as they rode, saying something low and casual. Maybe a joke. Maybe a reminder. Maybe nothing important at all. But Jimin smiled, small, genuine, unforced, and nodded along, the way he does when he's present in the moment rather than performing it. In the other cart, Jungkook sat with the others. RM spoke quietly, likely pointing something out ahead. J-Hope's laughter broke through the low hum of the airport, bright and familiar. Taeyong watched the passing lights with thoughtful eyes, half lost in his own observations. Jungkook listened, responded when spoken to, smiled when appropriate. But there was something about his focus that felt split. Not distracted, just shared. Because even when Jimin wasn't physically beside him, Jungkook has always had a way of orienting himself around where Jimin is. It's subtle, easy to miss if you're not paying attention. But once you've seen it enough times, it becomes unmistakable. He glanced ahead, eyes briefly searching. Almost at the same moment, Jimin shifted in his seat and looked forward too. Their eyes didn't meet, not directly, not dramatically, but the timing was too familiar to be coincidence. It was the kind of synchronized movement that comes from years of instinct, not intention. As if some internal compass gently adjusted itself without conscious thought. This is what fans mean when they say Jikook, stay together, even when they're apart. It's not about proximity. It's about alignment. As the carts continued through the airport, Dubai's architecture unfolded around them, bright, expansive, polished, filled with motion and sound. Staff guided them smoothly, security remained close but unobtrusive, and the group moved forward with the quiet confidence of people who have done this countless times. Yet no matter how routine it all seemed, there was still a sense of care in every movement. Jimin adjusted his posture slightly, hands resting loosely in his lap. Jeon noticed and subtly shifted too, making space without a word. In the other cart, Jungkook leaned forward just a bit, elbows on his knees, gaze focused ahead as if already mapping where they'd regroup. Yoongi's cart passed by at a comfortable distance. He looked calm, eyes observant, taking in the environment with the same quiet attentiveness he's always had. There's a certain peace in knowing that everyone has found their own rhythm within the group, and that no one needs to force closeness for it to exist. And still, despite the separate carts, there was no sense of separation. Because Jikook has never needed constant physical closeness to remain connected. Their bond lives in the pauses. In the moments between conversation and silence. In the way Jungkook's expression softens without him realizing when Jimin is nearby, even if only within sight. In the way Jimin seems more grounded, more at ease, knowing Jungkook is somewhere close, even if not within reach. At one point, the carts slowed briefly. A small delay. Nothing unusual. Jimin exhaled quietly and tilted his head, eyes flicking sideways. Jungkook, in the other cart, lifted his head at the same time. Again, not dramatic. Not obvious. Just awareness. That unspoken check-in that says, "Are you okay?" And the equally silent answer, "I'm here." Fans don't imagine these things because they want to see them. They notice them because they happen consistently. Over years. Across countries. Through exhaustion and celebration alike. When the carts began to align again closer to the exit, the group naturally started to converge. Jeon slowed slightly. RM gestured ahead. J-Hope leaned back, stretching. Taeyong shifted forward. Jimin and Jungkook ended up within each other's line of sight once more. This time, their eyes met briefly. Just a second. But that was enough. Jimin's lips curved into a faint smile, soft, barely there, but real. Jungkook's shoulders relaxed, his expression easing as if something inside him had settled back into place. This is why fans say Jikook, main tetap bersama. Not because they insist on always being side by side, but because no matter how they're arranged, they find each other again without trying. By the time they exited the airport, the group had fully regrouped. The carts stopped. Everyone stood, adjusted bags, thanked staff. The movement became familiar again, 7 people falling back into their shared rhythm. Safe, together. Another arrival completed. For fans watching from afar, the moment wasn't about who sat where or which cart carried whom. It was about the feeling that lingered after, the reassurance that nothing fundamental has changed. That even as schedules shift and logistics vary, the core remains intact. Especially for Jimin and Jungkook. Because some bonds don't need explanation. They don't need constant proof.